Okay, then. I haven't prepared a presentation, unlike Renato, but I would just like to say I'm Marisa Tellez. Maria Luisa is my full name, but everybody calls me Marisa, and I like that better. I have 3 children. One of them is already with our Lord, the eldest, and I have 2 here on Earth with us. I also have 2 grandchildren, but they're actually pets, just like we saw with Renato. I wanted to, first of all, welcome you to Madrid. Madrid, well, everybody says that Madrid is an open city where nobody feels uncomfortable or feels like a stranger or a foreigner. If you take a walk around, if you see a few things, you'll realize that that's true. It's a city which, well, in addition to being very pretty, well, on a Friday evening, yes, we're going to take a walk around Madrid and we're going for dinner in a typical restaurant. So welcome to you all. Now I shall introduce Carlos and Isabel. I'd like them to accompany me because they are like my right and left hands. And everything without Isabel, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this. And you know that because she's the one who sends the answers. I've had lots of problems, but, well, I do feel sorry that I've not done things better, but as I said to President Renato, I warned in advance that I didn't know English, and if I could be born again, the first thing I would do would be to learn English. And with computers, well, I do what I can. But thank you to Isabel and thank you to Carlos, because it's thanks to their help that I've been able to do this job. I always like talking about, well, a kind of story, although Juanma might not be so pleased about this. But, well, I'm gonna tell a new one. Oh, and another thing that happens is I get in a muddle with my bits of paper. If I can find it, that's fine, but if not, I'll tell the one I always tell. Since Isabel and Carlos are here already, please, can you join me, please? Okay. So, besides making life easier for everybody, these 2 have been my right and left hands. Without them, I wouldn't have been able to do anything at all. And now I will start with my little story. Juanma has asked me to tell you this because I always tell the story about the forest. Is that the one you know? The one about the forest? No. You don't like that one? No, I don't know that one. Okay, then. Okay, well, it's all about animals. Perhaps, well, what I want is to make sure that we all try to be humble, and that goes for myself as well. So I'll read you this. The story is called I'm Just Doing My Bit. And it says there was a fire in the forest and the animals didn't really pay any attention to it at the start, but the flames advanced and they threatened to destroy everything. In the end, they got together to see what they should do. An elephant proposed a stampede in the intact forest around the area of the fire to isolate it. The tiger tried to convince the rest that the best thing would be to jump across the river to the other side. A turtle asked for somebody to do something desperately. After a little while, they discovered that there was a hummingbird that was going from the river, coming and going from the fire to the river, from the fire to the river. Each time it would take a little drop of water from the river and dropped it onto the flames. They observed the hummingbird doing this for several minutes until the fox asked, "What are you doing?" or said, "What are you doing, Mr. Hummingbird? Do you think you're going to put out the fire with just a few droplets?" And then the hummingbird said, "No, I'm just doing my bit. And what are you doing?" Well, that's what each of us has to do. We have to do our bit. And no more. So now I've given you my welcome. When we think about this, or when we thought about this meeting, President Renato, he's the one that asks me to do things, and he asked me to do the webinars and to do this meeting as well. I thought that it was, well, that there wasn't enough time left because in June of next year we'll have a new president. And I think that it's in September when the new president will actually take the position. It's September, right, Renato? Yes? Yes. Well, so I thought there wasn't much time to organize this event, that it would be very expensive. But then, well, thinking a bit further about the subject, we decided it was worthwhile because we cannot waste time and we must not miss the opportunities to receive training right till the very last day. So we must similarly not fail to deal with poverty, which is doubling. And we have a very grim outlook right now when we see the news in Europe and in countries in Africa because of the conflict right now between Ukraine and Russia. And here, is this what I have to press? Is this the button? Isa? But you have to point it in that direction. Let's see. Well, if not, I'll stand up if need be. Diego. She has to point it over there, right? Is it not working? Okay. Hang on. Oh, this one doesn't want to work. Now it is. Okay, well, I was talking to you about this meeting and why we organized this meeting. I remembered this metaphor of the lame duck. I don't know if you're familiar with the idea of the lame duck. Well, this syndrome, as we can call it, is that when a government is going to change in a country, well, the 6 months prior to the change, nothing really gets done. Why? Well, because the government is going to change. Maybe it will be the same one, but there's a change. So it's called the lame duck syndrome because the duck is lame. It should be governing, but doesn't do anything at all. Since this is not our situation, because we have a president general and I have a national president who's never going to be a lame duck. He is always going to be thinking of new ideas. Here we have different pictures of Renato, but I could have chosen, well, 10 or more. I could have filled 10 slides with photos of everything that he has done. And I know that he's going to carry on working for the months that he has left during his reign. But these months that he still has as a president. And I'm sure that with all of the experience that he has, he will help the new president as well. Oh dear. I wanted... Goodness me. In any case, I wanted to just run through everything that has been done, everything we've done since I was named as Vice President for Formation. And I wanted to say thanks to Marie-Françoise Salesiani-Bayet for the work she did, and also to express thanks to Brian O'Reilly, who passed away. And you may know that when you have a new government, everything gets changed. They wipe everything away. They change how things were being done. And I don't think that's how that... We can't allow that to happen, let's say, in the society, because there are lots of things that are being done that are very good and should be maintained. We have basic universal formation and the different points. This was what Marie-Françoise and Brian initiated. This is what they did. We have the history, origins, the fundamental principles, poverty and systemic change, Vincentian spirituality, home visits, institutional relations and relations with the church, the Christian doctrine, life in a conference, Vincentian solidarity, visits, and the rule. I also prepared a module for Christian doctrine, which was much more basic, let's say, because I realized that during my life as a Vincentian and my life as a Christian, I realized that there were many people who found it hard to remember the prayers, the Lord's Prayer or the cardinal sins, and they found it hard to memorize and learn these important things. So I prepared a module talking about all of that. And I broadened that with the universal basic formation or basic training. To start off with the word, and I'm going to sit down because I have it written down and I'll be more comfortable that way. The word is very important. The microphone is a long way away. So we have very important words that are available, or the word that is available on the website. The second point here talks about how to talk in public. And tomorrow we're going to give you some ideas, some hints about how this should be done, just recommendations, really. Doing good things in a good way. This is a phrase from Saint Vincent de Paul, but I have taken this and, well, we have to do things in a good way in our conferences, in everything we do. What we do, we should do it in a Vincentian way, in a good way. Practical love. Often when I'm at Mass, I hear where in all of the homilies they talk about love and more love. And I decided, well, I started to wonder, what is this all about when you talk about love? And when you really think about it, you begin to see what practical love is. Well, the last experience that I had was that there was a person, a friend of mine, and a friend within a group, and well, she asked a kind of what we might say is a silly question, and she asks questions, she asks silly questions, and people say, what a silly question. And the last time that she did this to me, I decided to refrain from saying it was a silly question. And that's a way of showing practical love. I've got 24 examples. For example, remembering somebody's first name, remembering their birthday, feeling that you're being taken into account. These are very small things, but that is what love is all about, in my point of view. And without forgetting St. Paul and the Corinthians, the other day I discovered that the first part I'd never actually read. I'd never read it properly. Sometimes we read and talk about things without really fully knowing what we're talking about. And then we can talk about personal growth. From the day we're born until the day we die, we are all growing. Well, I mean, we actually start to physically shrink. After a certain while, we stop physically growing, we start shrinking, as is my case. But in spiritual terms, we can always continue to grow and to make an effort, to really work hard, to improve spiritually and personally in order to come closer to holiness. When I entered the society 50 years ago or more, I'm not going to say more, as a comedian in our country says, I have so many years. I don't say anymore. I'm so many years old. But when I first joined the society, I didn't understand this idea of holiness. I thought it was about working with the poor, giving them food, and little by little, I got an understanding of what holiness is all about, which is, it's like a ladder. We move up it step by step. Sometimes we fall back a step, but then we can make our way up again. But our aspiration is to be saintly, as our Lord would like. Now we come to the contents of the brief handbook that Renato already mentioned. This talks about history and background information, the structure of conferences, because a conference is not just a spiritual group, but also a human group. I joined the society when I was very young, so I have to say that my best friends are in the society. And in the society, I have really met saints. And they've not been canonized, but they have been saints. And in my conference, the conference I belong to, which is also Carlos's conference, it works not just to help poor people, but as a human group. It's a group which helps each other and accompanies each other. We've unfortunately lost the husband of our chairwoman, and we have accompanied her and helped her during this difficult time. So as I was saying, in the conference, it's the basic rules that you have to arrive punctually and keep people informed if you're not going to be able to go and such like. The twinnings is the next point. Then we have prayer and spiritual growth. We must never forget, even if it's just maybe 5 minutes of spiritual reflection. It doesn't mean you have to read the gospel. I mean, that's valid as well, but many people read that. They can read the gospel every day on their mobile phone. And in the conference, you might spend time thinking about the news, for example, something that's happened, because nowadays society is lacking in criteria and lacking discernment. And the Pope has said this very often. We need to be critical. We need to discern between what is good and what is bad. So those 5 minutes should not be neglected, 5, 10, or 15 minutes. We mustn't forget to include them at conference meetings. And then, of course, the prayers themselves of the conferences, because that's what binds us and forms a link with the different members of the society. And I can't remember who said, I don't know if it was Carlos once, that if you stop to think, we are praying all day long, because since we are present in the entire world, it starts in the East and there in the Middle East, Europe, it moves through to America. So in the society, we are always praying. And what has been done? Can you pass that one? If anybody has a question, make the most of the moment for any questions while we try to change the slide. I won't talk for long because Juan Manuel is here. Yes. So, the President General, the International President General, upon his initiative, we had the creation of the Charity and Hope Medal. In addition to connecting and getting to know other institutions, this medal gave visibility to the society. Because I don't know whether in your countries or in your territories it's the same, but in Spain the society is not visible. Everything we do to increase visibility will be insufficient in Spain. The next one? Huh? Okay, we had the thematic years that you're all familiar with a competition for the founders of the first conference. This led us to carry out research. Juan Manuel Buergo was one of the real pillars behind these activities. We had the year of Bailey. He was the mentor of all of these young people. We had François Lallière. We have Lamache, Clavet, Deveau, Le Talanier. And in 2023, it will be Gilles Gossin, the second president, because the first one is Bailey. Yes, indeed. Prizes have been awarded. They are given to individuals, but also the conference as well. So here we're talking about research which has been carried out and which has helped us to understand and know better our founders. I would assure you that it's worth reading these projects. I read about Santiago de Massanao, who has now been named venerable. He was the first president in Spain of the society, and I knew nothing about him, but I'm really falling in love with this figure. But as we've heard, if you don't know about these people, we're missing out. You have to read and research. So I just want to encourage you to do that. That's all. We also have carried out 3 webinars upon the request of the president, Renato, and this gave us a lot to do. Yes, because I've already said that when it comes to social media, I'm really pretty much useless. I don't know if any of you are fans of the cinema. Are you cinema lovers? Oh, yes? No? Well, there's a film by Woody Allen, a very old one, which Well, it talked about a tape, the old audio cassettes and the tape on the cassette. He cuts a bit and he starts to spin the cassette round, and he gets in a complete mess. And the tape ends up winding all over him. He gets all tangled up in it and he almost kills himself. And I'm a bit like that when it comes to social media. So here we have Pandemic, Poverty and the Future. That was the title of the 3 webinars. And the first one talked about individual attitudes and Vincentian initiatives in response to the pandemic. We've had very difficult times, and if you remember, you'll remember how difficult it was when we couldn't hug anybody, and I didn't see my children for 8 months, and I was shut up at home for 8 months, which led to me changing my habits. And in fact, some of the changes were good, so we mustn't forget that there have been positive aspects to these changes. And lastly, we had the title, the general title, Pandemic, Poverty and the Future. But the last one talked about a new paradigm, because we were coming to the post-pandemic period and we had seen the start of a war which could lead to a war in Europe or a world war. This was initially, or has initially been, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And we have to consider everything within this new paradigm. It's nothing more than just a new framework, a new structure compared to what we had experienced in the past.
In principle, we need to be much more austere, to think more about the others. Difficult times are coming, and we need to do our best. And this is all what the Vice Presidency for Training has accomplished. I want to give my heritage. I took a sentence from Carlos' father. I did what I could. I was one more and I did what I could. Approaching Jesus, I am looking for him since I am aware of myself. Sometimes it's hard for me. And above all, always trying to focus in myself on his doctrine and to be a good Christian and a good person, which is the same. I would like to conclude my presentation with a short tale, so Juanma will be happy. This is the prayer of donkeys. Oh my Lord, listen the prayer of us, the donkeys. Our number is being reduced more and more. Men don't consider important. Don't invite us to the quark programs devoted to animals because our presence don't increase the audience level. You, when you were born, you had a donkey by your side. When you were in danger and you escaped to Egypt, you used one of our fellow members, and at the end of your days, when you came back to Jerusalem, you were riding one of us. Oh my Lord, what would have been of your life without us, the donkeys? Even though we are not considered important and we are doing the things nobody else wants to do, you can use us donkeys to save humanity, to save mankind, nothing else. Thank you very much, and tomorrow we will continue. I didn't bring this, but I have a mat with a Snoopy face on it. I would have brought it, but Snoopy, you all know Snoopy. It's a cartoon character. I think he's from Argentina. It's Snoopy and Piolín. Snoopy is a very nice dog, And Tweety Pie. Tweety Pie is a bird. It starts raining really hard. And Snoopy is very serious, but suddenly he looks at Tweety. It's really wet, and he thinks, what can I do for Tweety? And he lives 1 year, and Tweety stays below his ear, and he prevents him from getting wet with the rain. You want to say to add something? No? I would have brought this story, but we know. Well, hermana.
Espera que me tengo que poner los... Que veis, una de mis dificultades es el inglés.
One of my difficulties is English.
I'd like to just add something about the donkey. If you take careful note, the donkey has a cross on its back.
¿Ah, sí? Ah, no sabía.
It's a fact. It's a fact. If you look at a donkey, it's got a cross on its back. Thank you.
No, no, es en serio. No.
Are you serious? Is it true or not?
Yes, it is true. If you look at the donkey, it's got a black cross on its back.
Bueno. Pues ya lo miraré.
I would have a look at it. The philosopher Kant, there were 3 things facilitating our lives. One was sleeping, another is sense of humor, and the third one is hope. We serve in hope, but the sense of humor is also necessary.
Marisa, I have 2 things to say about the working of this formation and training program led by you. One is the syllabus which you provided, that is 12 modules. I am not aware of the 4 modules about which our President General referred to this morning. But these 12 modules really helped the society in India. Based on these 12 modules, we developed our own syllabus or curriculum for our country. It helped very, very much. I don't think such an effort has ever been made before. So we must salute you for that wonderful, solid work you have done. Secondly, in the most difficult times like the pandemic, you conducted 3 webinars. It inspired us. In turn, we also conducted webinars at our levels. So in that way, you inspired us and you helped us to initiate our own ways. So you need not regret about anything. This is a wonderful leadership you have provided. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. My dear Marisa, I congratulate you for your presentation, and I took note a sentence I'm going to carry back home for the future. And it's going to be in a note to be published as a summary of this working day. This sentence must be included. You say, a good training is the entry gate for holiness and for spirituality. This I fly 10,000 kilometers to come be here and listen to this sentence. I'm going to repeat. The good training is the entry gate for spirituality and for holiness. So I congratulate you for saying this for all of us. It was a real gift to fly so many kilometers to listen to this sentence. And another comment, you are fair, really fair and elegant with our predecessors. who used to speak well about the previous theme, which created this universal training program. We are continuing. But this is being very essential to recognize the good work done by our predecessors. You started your presentation thanking God because Marie-Françoise and Brian have been working on this program. And I must say, it seems to me one of the best things of the Michael mandate, speaking a straightforward way, was one of the best things of Michael Teo mandate, this universal training program, and we are enlarging it with quality, new themes, innovative issues. And this is the heart of our society. The incoming president continues the good things of his or her predecessor, and you are really humble, you are really elegant, and you have done this public recognition, and this is a very beautiful thing. I would like to underline now your recognition for Brian and Marie-Françoise, and these wonderful sentences, entry gate, it's all. Today I understand really well. If we want to achieve holiness, go to paradise, not now when the time came to go to paradise, we will enter there into a good spirituality, a practice of charity, and the search for holiness. This sentence is a real summary and the reasons why we are here in Madrid. For this to enhance, to improve this dimension. So I congratulate you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Renato. Carlos, Isa, you come. Carlos, come here, please. We are going to greet them. Applause. Good applause for Carlos. Renato must sing. Well, you have the floor according to the agenda. I have questions from 1 to 1:30. Then we will start. You have the floor now. Maybe the questions you may raise had not to be based on this content, on soccer. Real Madrid won. If they have questions, now reflection. Some time for questions. Here we have working group creation, but there are really few people. We may have a group reflection here now. A group reflection on what has been dealt with this morning, or what you think about training, which are the requirements for the future, how can we help. We have the lame duck. We are not going to be the lame duck. We will keep on walking with our two legs. The floor is yours. What do you need? What do you need in terms of training? Because training provided is rather basic, but maybe in your councils, in your countries, you need another kind of modules. Who is the president? What is the president training? The conference operation of the conferences, the statutes, the rule. whatever you think is necessary. Well, I'm going to anticipate my presentation, but I can ask this question. Before we made a survey in my country, the youth conference are the strongest point. Most of the conference are youth conferences, very active, very valuable. We are born from a youth conference. We are not that young now, and we have an adult conference, but youth conferences, they make the comment how the material could be more focused on the youth, because the leaders of youth groups are young too. So the idea is that themselves, they could adapt this training, but as they are young, they need more guidance, more digested material to be in order to facilitate its transmission. Yeah, to strengthen a little bit more the writing or covers, more attractive covers with more images. The focus, a special module for the youth, is one of the remarks we have received. This is really important. I should speak with William, because he is the delegate for the youth and he knows more about you. The only comment I make is the elderly we must retire or set aside, because we are tired and it's harder for us, and we need to give room for the young. The elderly, we should provide advice, to be there for questions, but nothing else. To be in our conference in a quiet way, I think is a very good remark, and I will speak with William in order to have a module for the youth. The other day, I saw in a newspaper, Spanish newspaper, there was like a cartoon. When I was young, I went into many historical characters through cartoons. This may be for the young, could be valuable. We need to speak with William, discuss ideas, to have contact with you, because this guy who seems so young is 38 years old. 28, I would say. I was discovered. You are not that young now. Well, I totally agree with you. We need to have a module for the youth. Marisa will get in contact with William. We'll see if we achieve before the end of this Monday to have this module for the youth. I also like your suggestion on the book covers of our material. This is communication, more attractive covers, more beautiful, with more. I agree. We will try not to put letters on the cover, but still illustrations or images, something more attractive for the youth. These are two suggestions to include in our conclusions. A new module for the youth and more modern and attractive covers for our books. This could be some of the conclusions of this event. I congratulate you. We will speak with William. Anyway, Kevin, training online training is very simple. Any young member could understand it, because there are like data or schemes. The word is not coming to my mind, to go deeper in their favorite themes. Your idea is very good, and we will carry it out, but I don't think the training is too complicated for the members. I didn't bring more short tales. Clement, you want to speak now?
Firstly, I am saddened to hear about the death of Brother Brian O'Reilly. I was not aware of that. He was a very good friend of mine. In 2002, I attended a training workshop with him in Ghana. But one of the words that keep on coming up is communication. There's a lack of communication, not only to the youth, but communication to each other. Communication, I think we should develop a module on communication which will form listening skills, talking skills, and skills how to communicate with each other, not only with the poor, but also with each member of the society in conferences, in councils. We desperately try, I might be talking only for Africa here, my part of Africa. We desperately try through email, through WhatsApp, but sometimes there's no response. And I think we should produce a module on the importance of communication, because without communication we are stagnant. And that's my personal point of view, that we need to work on this and try and develop something that is concrete and precise, so we can get to communicate with each other on a more frequent basis and a more understandable basis. Thank you.
Bueno, la muerte.
Well, the death of there are certain doubts about the death of Brian O'Reilly, but I think Marisa is positive. Even the donkeys have cases like this one.
Donkey with a cross.
Yeah. Yo, me lo pone.
No sé, pregunte a Larry, porque vive en Irlanda. ¿Tienes el WhatsApp de Larry? Creo que sí, pero si no, porque yo estuve con él 2 años atrás.
Sí, yo creo que yo.
2 años son muchos años con todo lo que ha pasado, pero vamos a cotejarlo. Pero si yo supiera, y eso íbamos a hacer un homenaje a él en el sitio web de CI, que fue vicepresidente general. Vale, lo miramos. Y tendríamos que hacer algo, y si no lo hicimos, fue malo. Vale. Yo tengo mis dudas. Irlandés parece ser. What is the cross?
Irlandés. Hace frío. Pues si no hay más preguntas, o si quieren, empezamos.
If there are no more questions, we may start with the following item.
Marisa, igual podemos enseñar para alguna presentación, porque igual luego falta tiempo.
Ah.
Sí.
Preguntamos a Marie-François. Marie-François lo tiene que saber. Carlos. ¿Queréis que empecemos con alguna presentación?
Shall we start with one of the presentations? So, because we have a tight agenda, as you wish, can go slowly. We have plenty of time.
Entonces nos encontramos a las 2 para el almuerzo.
¿Estáis muy cansados?
Are you tired? Because we can do a breathing exercise too. Let's go. We breathe in through the nose. All the air we can enter into our lungs. And now, without getting suffocated, we will exhale slowly. We are going to do it 4 or 5 times, feeling the inner peace we may feel inside us. We will repeat 5 times, deep inhale and exhale, but being aware of our breathing.
Bueno, pues nada, vamos.
Well, we will go out. It's a wonderful day out there in Madrid.